kite up where the air is bright. Let's go fly a kite. Why is that in my head? It is amazing. The goddamn songs that just drop in your head. Apologies, team. What an odd start, an unprofessional start. I am actually just double checking to see what episode we're on. It's 42. It's 42. I have been saying for some time now. Let's just get that up at the mouth so we can hear. Oh, I mean, what an unprofessional start! In the name of God. I've been saying for a while now. I need to get some kind of whiteboard or something that I can write on in the studio. You know, check me out. Just so that I know what goddamn episode it is. I mean, does it matter? Is the episode number that important? It's more important the fact that we're alive. You're alive! You're alive. And you're listening to what I hope is one of your favourite podcasts. So welcome back to another episode, another Wednesday. Episode 42. Quickly moving towards 50. And then it'll be 100. And then it'll be 500. And then by that time we'll probably be dead. Let's not kid. Hey, we could be dead by 50 years of age and episodes of the podcast. Smashed past the point of no return now. Officially, the podcast has been running longer in lockdown than it did in the real world. We are now 22 episodes recorded in lockdown and 20 episodes recorded in the real world. So there we go. As always, I hope you are safe. I hope you are well. Cases are on the rise. Cases on the rise. I tell you something. I've made another attempt to watch Hamilton. Failed miserably. We're now on attempt 3. Unable to get through it. I don't know if any of you have what I imagine many of you have. I don't believe I'm the only one who's watching it going, what? Or what did he say? The gentleman who appears to be Hamilton, who's front and centre, Starlight. He my God, at times, certainly not from the Buster Rhymes school of hip hop, the boy Buster. My God, what a speed of a tongue on that man, eh? But you knew everything he was saying. You knew every goddamn word that Mr. Rhymes was saying. Whereas Hamilton, I'm like, no. And so third attempt. We've got about an hour to go. We'll get there. It's Hamilton. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and we'll get there eventually. But it's been a bit of a boring week. Not much is happening. Skint beyond belief. Trying to remain positive. Trying to do these whole kind of, Americanisms where, hey, if you believe it and you visualize the truth, then the outcome can be your reality in these 6 easy steps. But yesterday in the house, in fact, not even yesterday, Monday, it was so dreich, right? Good Scottish word. So dreich and minging, another great Scottish word, in Edinburgh. We actually had to put the lights in the house on because it was so dark, even before midday, because it was just a horrible, horrible day. A day for the ducks, as your grandmother may say. So it's hard to kind of get that fire, that energy, And I have been thinking a lot about, obviously, gigs and live work, and we've got a few things in place today, actually, just before we started recording, that we're going to chase up again when we're finished, because we're going to have to do some kind of live stream thing or some kind of, online gig. Because I feel as if my creative juices are drying up, And the writing aspect of it has never really been a concern because a lot of people, I accepted very early on in my so-called career in comedy that I work very differently from other people. And I'm not one of these acts or comedians who kind of sits down and writes every day, or that's just never been me, never will be me. I'm too lazy, and I'm far too talented for that kind of. But whenever I get ideas or it comes in kind of big dumps, if you like. But right now, the fact that there is no gigs, and unfortunately, I had a gig booked in for January, which is now going to be getting moved to, we think, May of next year, because the theatre isn't even going to be open in January. So that's another worry as well for next year. And I can't keep... I mean, I've not done a gig now since the second week in March. And the last gig that I did was a corporate as well. It wasn't even an actual, comedy club. It was hosting an event at the National Museum in Scotland, here in Edinburgh, which was an amazing gig, by the way. I'll tell you that much. What a beautiful building. There's an incredible amount of buildings in Scotland that are truly, truly stunning. I have said this before, and I'll say it again. When I went to that, is it Sagrada Familia? Sagrada Familia. What is it called? Sagrada Familia. The one in Spain. Fucking Gaudi's church. Gaudi buildings. There we go. Let's see what the old Gaudi. La Sagrada Familia. The church, right? When did they start building this thing? Construction started 1882. And it's still no finished. Typical Spanish builder, 1882, right? So I went to Barcelona once for a wee shitty break to Barcelona, and obviously went to Sagrada Familia. Done the tour, walking about. Jam-packed it was, rammed, right? It felt like you were entering Guantanamo Bay or something when you first get in. Security gates everywhere. Obviously, this is at a time, when it was after 2000 after September 11th, so it was there's fucking terrorism everywhere. I tell you, the only terrorism that exists in that part of Barcelona, outside Sagrada Familia, is the fucking cafes that charge €5 for a fucking can of Coke to the tourists. That's terrorism. Obviously, queued up, bags in, fucking off we go, done the wee tour. And person who I was with, and even people who have said it to since, go, "You're talking shite, big man." That building, and also the what is it? What is wrong with my fucking brain today? See, before I do this podcast, I sit and actually make some notes, believe it or not, get the thing set up for the recording, and everything's flowing through my brain, and then as soon as I start recording and I start talking to you, my mind goes blank. Notre Dame. It's fucking Notre Dame. That and Notre Dame Cathedral when I went to Paris, which is still the biggest shithole I've ever been in my life. But Notre Dame Cathedral and Sagrada Familia. Neither of them can hold a candle to the spectacular beauty and history that is Glasgow Cathedral. If you have never been to, let's just see when that was built. If you have never been to Glasgow Cathedral, oh my God, I'm just getting this information here. Sagrada Familia started getting built 1882. Glasgow Cathedral opened 1197. What? 1197. Oh my God. That is insanity. That's over 800 years ago. Quick maths. What, 800 years ago? When probably the Spanish are still fucking having a kip, walking about in their fucking hind legs. 1197 Glasgow Cathedral was built. Open. So probably started building it before then. Anyway, Glasgow Cathedral is one of the most beautiful buildings you will ever visit. It is stunning, absolutely stunning. They have shut a part of it now that you used to be able to get into years ago, and there is as you go in, now, I have got a real thing for religious buildings, especially Christianity, Catholicism, kind of UK churches, right? Some of the Catholic churches I've been to in Spain are, no, not Catholic, not Protestant, not Christian, no faith. Went to Sunday school when I was young, but that's just to get you out of the house so your mom can get a hold. No interest in religion whatsoever. But there is something about it that fascinates me, absolutely fascinates me. I don't know if it's I think because I don't, and this is the truth, right? And if you are religious in any way, then, fair fucks to you. Sometimes I think I wish I had that. I wish I had a faith, maybe, at times. I think I'm spiritual in a way. I think I'm a wee bit spiritual, But religious, no. I don't buy it. I don't believe it. I think it may have been a way to create something in order to answer questions that were unanswerable. So I think that may have been the case. Back in the fucking, 400 BC. How come that's called a rock and why is the sky blue? Well, there's a big cunt in the sky, right? You can't see him, he's invisible. And he's like, here, hold on a minute. So I think that may have been why religion first originated or was created, to answer the unanswerable. And then I think it has quickly moved to be you could probably even argue a weapon. In some ways, religion would have been used, and still is, used as a weapon to mobilise people, to segregate people, to challenge views. And so never been religious, but there is something about it, and in particular the Catholic Church, that I'm drawn to learn more about it. It's the stories, it's the history, it's the power that they have. In my opinion, a thing that doesn't exist, in the sense of I don't think God's real. How something can be created and be so powerful and so influential across the world. So I love churches. I love old buildings. And Glasgow Cathedral is stunning, absolutely stunning. You can get it free of charge. Doesn't matter your sex, religion, doesn't matter. And just have a walk about, beautifully peaceful. Stunning architecture. And I think when you're in it, the fact that you are aware that you are not only surrounded by true history. It's not like when you go to America and you go, hey, would you like to come and see the oldest house in fucking Nashville? And you're like, when was it built? And you're like, 1961. You're like, mate, you've no idea what history is, right? 1197, that's insane, man. So, Glasgow Cathedral, beautiful building. It's like something that a Constantine or some kind of fucking mad, Devils and Angels film. And they used to have a room off to the side that is all white marble. Now, the room still exists, but you can't get in anymore. It's locked, but I think you're still able to look through the window and see it. But it's just they've got loads of different rooms off to the side. And I think the story of the different rooms is the different fractions of the church that have existed or fallen away over the years, and they all had their own little space. I think I could be wrong in that, but that white marble room, I can always remember being in there and just being completely in awe, blown away by it. And also there's it plays a massive part in Scotland's history as well. There's plaques up and different things for Robert the Bruce had meetings in it, and different historical figures had been there, and you do get a sense of it's almost split into three levels. You have an entrance point, it's big, long, kind of flat walkway with the huge pillars, proper Game of Thrones shit, and then you kind of go up a few steps and you go through these giant doors, and then it's the kind of, I imagine you would call it the kind of ceremonial part, right? And it's the bit when the Queen visited, she was in there, and That's where they have the receptions and whatnot. But there's also these 2 stairways that go off to the wings that take you down into the lower level. And that's where you, when you descend those steps and you see the concrete that's worn away because it's just hundreds of years, centuries, tens of thousands, millions of people before you have walked down these very steps. There is a real sense of, you are in history here. There's a real sense in that, and it's bloody stunning. So if you're ever in Glasgow, man, check that out. You definitely should go, or make it, whatever, if you even get to Scotland at all, at any point, get a chance to go. And probably if you live in Glasgow around, you've maybe never been, just go for a walk about. The necropolis is pretty cool as well, but definitely go to Glasgow Cathedral and see it. Why did we start talking about Glasgow Cathedral? I have absolutely no idea. But what was I talking about? Sagrada Familia. Glasgow Cathedral. Fuck knows. But yes, if you are in, now I'm looking for things on the computer that's not there. If you're in or near Glasgow, then go and check it out, man, because it is absolutely bloody spectacular, let me tell you. Right, one thing that I wanted to talk about, we've got some stuff cut. I've got some listeners' questions as well this episode, and thank you to everybody who got in touch. I know sometimes you answer the request that goes out on Patreon for any questions, and sometimes you'll respond to the ones on Instagram, so apologies if I missed them. Instagram seems to be the one where I keep forgetting to go in and get the responses. But thank you to everybody who's got in touch, and we'll get to it at one point. Now, I was going to talk about this actually a few weeks ago because I'd made a note of it in my phone to do so, and I never got around to it. And then I saw this news article, and I thought, that's the very bloody thing I was going to talk about. So we'll talk about that now. Now, I am not a big... I was just about to say I'm not a big YouTube man, and that's a lie. I have YouTube on every single day while I'm working. But it is a very small group of things that I will watch on YouTube. Tends to be podcasts, either my favourite comics, I'll listen to their podcasts, or I'll maybe listen to a stand-up album or something like that. Or cooking stuff, right? That's really the only things I watch. So I don't have a... I remember my mate's daughter said to me once, she's only young, right? She's like, who's your favourite YouTuber? And I was like, I was disgusted the fact that that's now a thing. In fact, we watched a film the other night. Is it called The Power or Power? It's on Netflix with Jamie Foxx. And I was shocked and horrified to see that one of the YouTubers, I can't remember his name, there's a guy who's a YouTuber and he's in the film. I don't even think he's got a line in it. I think he just drags a girl somewhere and then looks a bit awkward as they all get killed after Jamie Foxx. And I'm like, is that where we are at now, where you can get a part in a Hollywood movie simply by being famous on YouTube? Not famous for acting, not even the fact that you can become famous and a multi-millionaire on YouTube by just posting shit videos. Even now, I'm not into TikTok at all, right? The idea of it, the format, disgusts me. People lip syncing to other people's videos. People lip syncing to another artist's content is making them famous. What the actual fuck is happening to this planet, man? What a fucked up time to be alive, to be a young person as well. And never, I think, see, to be young now growing up, what a shit time that must be. Now, people will argue that I'm wrong, and maybe I am wrong, maybe because I don't know enough about, the next group of people that are coming through, but fuck me, it is garbage. So this article that I saw is basically about YouTube reaction videos. Now, I didn't even know it was a thing. Again, when I heard about it, I thought, what is happening to this? This is videos of people watching other videos and then reacting to them, and you are watching their reaction, and you think, what? How is this a thing? And two, how can these people, I mean, some of them get millions of followers. Their videos are getting millions of views. I wonder, sometimes, it doesn't really affect me personally. It doesn't impact me personally in relation to my work, because I think that I've never wanted to be famous or operate in that kind of world. And a lot of these people are simply driven by fame. It's not driven by creativity. It's just driven. It's a constant hustle to be famous, which must be fucking tiring, man. But I often think, how boring must it be that you become famous on reaction videos? So the article was, in fact, let me just put this up here. That's the wrong one. Too many buttons to press. So twin brothers listening to Phil Collins, right, was the article. The video had gone viral after capturing, apparently, their brilliant reaction to a Phil Collins song, right? Now, first of all, some of these reaction videos are insane. And the thing that gets me the most is, it's not that they aren't aware that these people exist. Like, I think the thing was, it's not that the two boys, the two twins, right? It's not that they're unaware that look at his reaction there. It's not that they're unaware that Phil Collins exists, although they probably have no idea who Phil Collins is. In the video, they say that people had been sending them in things that they should react to, right? And what you find with these reaction videos is the people who have reaction channels, they all react to the exact same stuff, right? It's the same 4 or 5 songs over and over and over again, right? And the worrying thing about the young ones, the young people who are doing it, right, the young kids, is that I think they honestly believe that there's never been any talented people before them. I think that's what they believe. It's not a shock reaction in the sense of, I can't believe I'm getting to hear this. I think the shock for them is the more like, I can't believe that there was artistic, talented, creative people before we came along. There's a very narcissistic view of young people now that they have created everything. Or that everything that they do is better than what has gone before them. There's no point in watching old movies, watching old television shows, listening to old music, because there's not a chance in hell that anything that has came before them or was created in their parents' time could ever match to the shit that is being created now. One of the reaction videos that I watched this morning before kind of noting this down was a woman who I'd say maybe is in her late 40s, and her reaction is to a Tom Jones song, and it's beautiful, right? That reaction is beautiful because she says that she knows the name, or she's aware of him, but she'd never heard him sing before. And obviously Tom Jones is an incredible singer, and that reaction is real. And I remember watching that, thinking, when I was watching this one, going like, that this is a real reaction to it. It's just her watching the video, watching the song, listening to him sing, and then, I would just say critiquing, but in response to the end. But these young boys, man, they just the noises they make and the reaction to it, you're going, guys, there is talented people out there, whether you like Phil Collins or no. But I think the reason why this one stuck out for me is just because it was given so much publicity for some reason, because the video went viral. This is the article that was in NME, right? Can you imagine working for NME and you've been there since maybe the start, or you've been there like through the 80s and the 90s, right? Through all those different rise and falls of genre music, rock, grunge, pop. You've been through all of that. Interviewed, spoke to some of not only the greatest bands that ever existed, some of the most talented musicians that have ever existed. And you are now resigned to doing articles on two twin brothers who create reaction videos on YouTube. I imagine there are people in the NME who struggle to not blow their brains out every single day. This is the article. A pair of twin brothers have gone viral after capturing their brilliant reaction to the moment they listened to Phil Collins for the first time. The latest video in the First Time Hearing series, it's a series, from the 21-year-old YouTube stars Tim and Fred Williams, known as Twins the New Trend. Wow. Sees the pair listening to In the Air Tonight. While the brothers have previously captured the reactions to tracks including Dolly Parton's Jolene, amazing song, and Bruce Springsteen's Dancing in the Dark, their reaction to Collins' track has garnered their biggest audience to date. The pair became increasingly animated in the video, but their greatest reaction comes when the famous drum solo arrives almost 5 minutes into the clip. One of the twins said, "That was cool. He did that." Yes, he did do that. I ain't never seen somebody drum a beat 3 minutes into a song. Well, there you go. Tim goes on to hail the song as unique and a straight banger. I'm sure Phil Collins will be desperate to have that feedback. One Twitter user responded, y'all been sleeping on Phil Collins while I've been a stain since I could stand. Wow. Watch these teens hear the power of Phil for the first time. I have absolutely no idea what that sentence was. It was confirmed earlier this year that Phil Collins was, and then it goes on to talk about Phil Collins and Genesis. But the fact that these reaction videos are getting millions and millions of views is insanity, and it's. I think all of us could probably spend a bit of time maybe looking back at maybe some stuff that it might even be a nice conversation to have with your parents or family members or older relatives, or you've got friends. It might even be a nice conversation to have around what music, they remember for their youth, or what stands out to them, or TV or film or books or plays. Certainly books is something that I need to start reading more of than what I do. I don't read fuck all, and that's something I need to start doing. Maybe that's a way to connect to people. But just the fact that they are unaware of these great artists, and then the reaction to it is just so over the top. You know that it's just this. You know that it's just to get views. That's it. Tom Jones, the reaction to Tom Jones is fabulous. Tom Jones is, I've seen him live once, so a long time ago. I worked for O2, which to date was the worst job I ever had. Because of the people, maybe not because of the work, but because of the people, the management and the business themselves. Horrible company to work for. And when you may remember the O2 in London, so O2 took it over, or they sponsored it or something. This is when they started to buy up music venues and do their priority thing, right? So basically what was happening was they were doing a soft opening of the O2. And if you've ever been at the O2 in London, it's huge, right? It's massive. It not only has the arena, but it's got a whole infrastructure around it. There's cinema, I think, is in it now, and at that time it's full of restaurants and shopping places. It's vast, right? So what O2 was doing was offering all of its staff, to come down to the opening, the soft opening of the O2, and there was going to be live performances and everything else, right? And they flew us down for Glasgow. They chartered planes. I mean, it was unbelievable, right? We had to go to work. We had a meeting in Glasgow, bussed us out to the airport, got on a plane. I remember it was German planes, a German company. Everything was in German. All the women looked like they were for the Hitler Youth. Every single one of the air hostesses the exact same. Tall, very, very thin, very dour-faced, blonde. Every one of them over the age of 50, stick thin and angry looking, terrifying looking, blonde hair, straight back, every one of them. Flew down to the O2, bussed us into the O2, flew down to London, bussed us at the O2, and then you're there all day. You were given tokens for stuff to go and get food, and there was loads of different things on outside. You can go and get a massage and all this stuff. And obviously it's all branded O2. And yeah, we're fucking Team O2. And, you know, like gangs in New York or something. And you're meeting up with like the O2 branch in Manchester going, yeah, you're with us guys, right? One, let's fucking take on the English. That kind of day. But I remember going in and we were all in our seats. So we all had like zones. You know, so like the Scottish people were on one side and whatnot. And hosted by Dermot O'Leary. Fucking hell. They had a lot of English rugby players then because O2 sponsored England. I don't know if they still sponsor them or no, but a lot of English rugby players there. And the musical numbers were Basement Jacks, Kaiser Chiefs, and Tom Jones. Now, it was completely the wrong order, right? It was the reverse order. It should have been the other way around. Because we had no idea who was going to perform. We weren't told who was going to perform. And Tom Jones came out first. I remember that. Because I remember Dermot Lair going, Tom Jones. And I'm like, no fucking way. Tom Jones came out. Did about 45 minutes. Full band. Unbelievable. Like, unbelievable. I'll never forget it. I was angry because obviously people are treating it as a day out, right? Like holiday, you're also getting paid. You know you're getting paid to be there, so it's like an escape via work, and people are trying to get noised out a bit. And at the end of the day, it's a fucking stadium full of call centre workers, right? So the majority of them are ball bags anyway. So people are constantly in and out, getting steaming, sneaking bevy, and the usual stuff. And I'm just sitting watching Tom Jones thinking, this is... I remember in my head going, I cannot believe I'm getting to see this. That I couldn't believe it. I hadn't been long been with the company, and then thinking, you know what, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe O2 is a really good place to be. It's fucking awful, but what a gig, man. What a gig. And then when he left, I was gutted, like genuinely gutted. I thought, right, go home now. There's nothing can top this. I don't know if he had to go early because he's a bit older, or I don't know what the setup was, but I was like, the gig's done now. It's done. Then the next act, musical act, was Basement Jacks, and to be fair to them, they were brilliant. They were absolutely brilliant. Proper show, great. Obviously, never going to live up to Tom Jones, right? And the last one was the Kaiser Chiefs. And not being a particular fan of the Kaiser Chiefs anyway, that's one of the worst gigs I've ever been forced to sit through. They were fucking garbage. Compared to what you saw with Tom Jones, and then how Basement Jacks worked that venue, knowing there's probably maybe 60% of the audience maybe don't like the music or not really into them, the Kaiser Chiefs just phoned it in, man. It was awful. It's an awful gig. But I remember, and I vividly remember watching Tom Jones just sitting in that stand going, this is one of the greatest things. I mean, you'll ever get to see. To get to see Tom Jones live, it was phenomenal. But should have filmed that reaction video. Imagine sitting it. This is probably even before fucking YouTube was a thing, you know, or YouTube was certainly making stars. You think now that you people are being famous for reacting to stuff on YouTube? What is it you do? I'm a reactionist. Oh, is that like a political thing, like a journalist? No, I react to things. In what sense? Well, you know, I watch musicians, bands, you know, people getting hurt, and then I'll film myself reacting to them and then post that online, and that's a full-time job. Yes, I earn about £16 million a year. Who's the mug, eh? I always remember having a meeting with a person in my team, and this is long before I did stand-up, right? Long before I even thought about trying to do it. And, well, no, that's not true. It was always there. I just thought, you know, I thought that's Hollywood. That's a dream. It's no real life. You've got to just get a job, and life is fucking a graft, and you just got to work through it. You know, as many of us probably do, you know. Again, west of Scotland, probably growing up. That was it. You go to school, you try and get a job, you find a woman, you have kids, and that's it, and you just try and find some kind of joy along the way that gives you enough so you don't top yourself and you continue on to the end, right? That was what life was meant to be. And thankfully we took a turn off that path and pursued comedy. But I remember talking to this person in my team and having to give them, not a bollocking, but having to go through them and just say, look, what's going on, man? Like, I'm getting shit because you're doing shit and what's happening here. And then they just opened up to me and said, like, they wanted to be a musician, they wanted to be a singer, but they don't know how to do it, they've not got the confidence. And then I remember sitting in the canteen for an hour with them and just talking through it, and I'm like, you need to go to college, or you need to do this, or you need to get in an environment that can allow you to be creative. And then that will maybe give you the confidence you need to make that step. And you're not going to get that here, because a lot of people will go into a shit job and they'll think, right, I need to get money because the money will allow me the freedom to then go and pursue what I want to do. And sadly, a lot of the time it doesn't happen. You need to be in an environment that allows your creativity to grow. You know? That's one of the reasons why I did a stand-up course, a comedy course. A lot of people turn their nose up at it, and whenever they find out that you started in comedy by doing a course, they go, oh, really? As if it's something where you're less than them, you know, because they somehow took a plunge. My thing was confidence. I had no knowledge. You know, I've said it before, and I'll tell you the truth, like, I mean, there's no industry in Scotland, there never has been, but I didn't even know that comedy clubs existed for a long time. Didn't know they existed. Didn't even know they existed out of Scotland. You know, I thought you became a comedian by somehow you get spotted and you just went on the telly, right? Because the only introduction you had to comics growing up was Billy Connolly, or Lee Evans was a big one for me growing up. But you just see him in the telly and you just think, oh, he's funny. Maybe he does the theatres, you know, like end of the pier stuff. And as daft as that sounds, if you have no knowledge of a whole network of clubs existing, you're never going to know that. Certainly in Scotland as well, where, you know, where they have such a guarded industry, and that they don't really want people getting in because everyone's terrified that they're going to lose work, because we don't have a lot of talented comics, so they all hang on to what they have. They create their little groups and their cliques, and it's difficult to break into it. And I had no knowledge of it, like I said, so by doing the course, that allowed me to be in a creative space, and I knew it gave me a gig at the end. And my hope was that by doing that gig, I would at least be then aware of how I then move on to like do more. And that's exactly what happened. Did the course, did the show at the end where everybody on the course does a set, and then the guy who was the MC offered me a gig the following weekend, and then it went for there, you know. But you've got to put yourself in the environment, I suppose, where you can be creative. And maybe now there's a lot of people, I imagine, now with the situation we're in with COVID and the real uncertainty. I think that the last kind of month or two, well, I think the previous 2 months, I think the attitude was, this can't have gone for much longer, we're getting closer to the end, life's going to go back to normal. And I think probably the last couple of weeks, I think maybe the mindset of people has shifted, and I think we're all starting to realise that this is going to be like this probably the rest of the year. I think we're going to be in this type of lockdown for at least the rest of this year, I think. And that's, I mean, it's worrying, you know. Even the day I was reading about Marks and Spencer's jobs going, you know, oh, the Percy Pigs alright, the Percy Pigs are alright, but every day you're hearing something new. And we're going to be it's going to be impossible for us to go back to normal, or whatever we think normal was, because there's been too much change. Too many people have now lost their job, too many people are now vulnerable. It's not going to go back to that. So what it goes back to, I don't know. And possibly people now are maybe starting to think, right, if we are going to have to go back to work, or I'm going to have to go back to earning money, and there is now that uncertainty in life where you don't know what's around the corner, and that has now become a real reality to people. We don't know what's around the corner. Shouldn't you be making the decision to at least be in an industry, or be in a career, or be in a job that brings you some kind of joy? Now, every job's hard, right? Don't get me wrong. I believe I'm meant to be a comedian. It's the first thing that I've done that I just, like a duck to water. I'm naturally gifted at it. I'm good at it. I enjoy it. but it's a job at the end of the day, and there are times when it's hard. You know, I've said it before, it's a constant hustle. You're constantly fighting against the tide, keeping your head above water, constantly thinking 6 months, a year, 2 years down the line, constantly fighting. It's hard, it's a job, but the pros outweigh the cons. And I probably think there are a lot of people now who are maybe in a position where they're going, right, if I've got 30 years left of grafting, 30 years left of working, maybe even 40 years left, do I know want to be in a job or an industry that you know, fulfills me in another level other than financial? I don't know. But maybe that's what's going to happen after lockdown. Everybody's going to be a poet. I'm chucking a job on the scaffolding. I'm going to be a poet, Sandra. Tell me one of your poems, Franco. There once was a man from Nantucket. Who knows? But listen, if you've got anything out there, if you've got any inklings, any vibes, fucking try it, man. You know, give it a go. But I think the most important thing is, if you're going to go into some kind of creative role or try and move into like a creative industry, if your main drive for anything is money, I think you'll always fail, especially in a creative world. If you start off and you do something because you love it and it makes you happy, I think your chance of success will be great. When I first started doing stand-up, I loved it. I couldn't believe I was getting the opportunity to do it, you know. And I would have done it for free, and I did do it for free for a long time. And then I started to get busy with bookings, and then I started to become in demand, and then I started to realise, wait a minute here, I am better than everybody around me at this level. So I should be charging for this. I should be getting paid because I have shown that I can do it. And then you work your way up, and then the next level is you're now at a point where it's interfering with your day job because you don't have the time to concentrate on it. So you make that step, and then you go on from there and you move up. But if your initial thinking or logic behind making that, making that change, making that switch to something else is, I'm going to be rich and famous, it's never going to happen. I mean, it will happen for some, and it does, because those people are fucking cancerous lumps and they know how to work the system and they manipulate it. But at the end of the day, when their career is done and they look back, they'll take no joy from it. Those people will never be fulfilled, because the thing that they crave, whether it be fame and money, will never be enough to feed that craving, Another odd episode. Honestly, I sat down thinking, this is going to be a really joyful one. I'll even get some clips out of this. It's going to be dead funny. And we've just gone down the road of being fucking pure deep again. Who knows where these take a twist? If you're still listening at this point, congratulations. Right, YouTube reaction videos. Let's look at the time for a start. Let's do some questions. I thank you to everybody who got in touch. I'm just looking here at the bit of paper that I've got. What have we got? Let's go. Douglas Simmons. Douglas, thank you for getting in touch. Douglas has asked, what's your least favourite road trip activity? Music you've had to suffer when on a long road trip. I mean, I'm lucky so far. I've not really had anything where. Most of the times when I'm doing the long road ones, right, the biggest ones is London. I mean, Brighton was the worst one, but I did Brighton, broke it up because I went to Cardiff first. The biggest ones that I still do are London and Cardiff. Cardiff is a killer. It's an absolute killer. It's about 8 hours in the car because the traffic is horrendous and it feels like a slog, man. It's the only one that I do where I normally get quite drunk after it because you're just so tired. You're just burst. Everything's drained by the time you get there, and then you do the gig, and then you get back to the room and you just crash out. But whenever I do these long drives, podcasts all the way, man. It's just podcasts and listening to the radio. As long as it's mostly people talking. Occasionally I'll listen to some music, Spotify playlists, but 9 times out of 10 it's podcasts for me. The only real situations I've been in the car where I've had to do like games is with my nieces, and I can't stand it, man. I've not got that mindset of, I can tune them out, I can just let them scream and sing and go mad in the back of the car, but when they're doing the I spy, you're like, mate, wrap it, alright? Or they go, right, everyone has to say a boy's name beginning with the letter A, and then we go through the alphabet, right? I'll start, Adam. Oh, I've got an Adam in my class. No, I was going to say Adam. Well, I've said it, so you can't say it. That is enough to make me want to put sharp left down and just spin it into a field. That drives me insane. That drives me insane when they do stuff like that. Especially my nieces who just make up stuff. They just cheat. They don't care, right? You know? It's the letter K, Colin. Colin does the begin with a K. I've got a boy in my class, Colin begins with a K. And you're going, listen, I will jam this hand in and roll us into a field. So stuff like that does my nothing. I like it. The car is oddly, I go for drives quite a lot to relax and just to think. I do a lot of thinking in a car. I'll have some music on, or I'll be listening to radio, or I'll listen to a podcast. And oddly, I don't know what it is, it's always done it. Whenever I'm trying to write a new show or work on bits of material, I'll always go for a long drive, like an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. Just driving about, not motorway driving. I tend to kind of come off and try and go back roads and countryside and whatnot. And there's just something about being in the car, and I don't know if it channels my thinking, because I'm driving, so I'm in control of the vehicle. I don't know if doing that switches off a part of my brain or switches on a part of my brain that allows me to think more clearly on material and creating than when I'm just sitting in an office. You mean maybe your mind's too busy and you're trying to write, is there something funny about Flizamites? I don't know, but in a car, well, there is, but in a car, driving in a car, that's when I seem to, it certainly helps me for writing, so I don't know if that's I don't know whether it's, maybe some fucking doctor could be able to. It's because the actual front central cortex lobe is switched off when you're driving. No idea. But nothing really, no games. I've never been in a car with a group of commies to went, let's play a game, right? Let's all say a football team beginning with the letter. That's not happened before, but long drives, man. That's when I know I'm getting old. Long drives now. It's getting a bit of pain. But to be fair, I'll never take another gig for granted again after this lockdown ends. I'll drive to Cardiff and back in a day if I had to. I'm missing Cardiff, man. I love the Cardiff Glee. It's absolutely brilliant. I love the people. I love the venue. I love the locals. I'm missing that club. I think that's one of the ones I'm missing the most. I mean, I'm missing gigs. I'm just desperate to get back into a gig. I really am. And even, I'm starting to think now, am I even a comedian in it? When obviously I am, but it's been so long. It's been so long since a gig. Technically, I'm a podcaster. That's where, that's where money's coming in, thankfully. But who knows? But thanks for that, Douglas. Morris Stewart has asked, how much recorded podcast material do you throw away compared to what makes it in, or is it just one long stream of consciousness? Morris, used to be broken up into 20-minute sections. That's what I used to do. So I used to record, I used to have a topic or something I was going to talk about, and I would try and talk about that for at least 20 minutes, or as close to 20 minutes as I could, and if it lasted longer than 20 minutes, let it run longer. And then I would stop the recording, and then I would have a break, and then I would start again on another subject. And that's how I used to do it at the start. First couple of episodes, that's how I did it. And then I realised, one, that isn't working, and two, that isn't what I want it to be. It's not a show, you'll probably know if you listen. The podcast itself, I don't think it's not as structured as in here's the beginning part, here's the middle part, here's the end. Some things I'll rabbit on for ages, some things I'll go off in tangents. So now the podcast is I record the audio and the video, obviously separately in case I lose one, so I've always got a backup. And then I just turn them on. So I suppose talk you through it, whether interested or no. Something to talk about. I come in, I will go through a couple of news channels and see if there's anything that jumps out at me that I want to talk about. I'll go through my notes on my phone to see if there's anything that I've noted down since the last episode that I want to talk about. I take those, I'll write them down, and then I'll start to see if there's things in there that I think either will tie in together that I can discuss, or stuff that I want to actually bring up in the show. Then I'll go back to the news items that I want to talk about, and I'll try and get pictures and headlines for it so I can use that in the videos. And then get ourselves ready, set up the camera, set up the audio, make sure everything's recording, do a wee quick 30-second minute test to make sure that everything's sounding fine. And then I press record in the audio, and then I hit record on the video, and then that's it. And then we just go. We go for as long as we shot. The only rule I've got is that each episode should be at least an hour. That's it. I think an hour is kind of standard for a podcast. Certainly that I would expect to be. If it's any longer than an hour, then it's a bonus. But I will record for at least an hour, and then we just go and we see what happens. Sometimes I don't stop now. I used to stop before, and like if I fucked something up or there was something that I didn't like or I was distracted. Sometimes the tour manager's again asleep in front of me in the bed. Sometimes he goes mad, so I stop for that reason. But I don't anymore. I just let it go. Just leave it running, and then I'll cut it together and we'll go for there. But there's very little now that comes out. I don't think it's that I've got more confident as it's gone on. I mean, obviously I have, because at the start, the difficult thing is, like, I do 2 episodes a week, right? So I will sit and talk to myself for almost 3 hours every week, right? Now, again, listening to some other podcasts and listening to an American comic who I admire, he said one of the hardest podcast to do is the broadcaster style, is single person talking to a camera, talking to an audience. What I'm doing, it's one of the hardest things. I enjoy doing the hashtag show with McLAUGHLIN because it's somebody to bounce off of. A lot of the other podcasts I watch, they will have guests, or they have, 2 or 3 people who either recur or who are fixed in the show. And one of the hardest things to do is to talk like this, like we're doing, for an hour at a time, twice a week. But the reason I do it is because I set up the podcast because it was, 1, it was easy for me to do. 2, I wanted to be able to do it on the road. And 3, I didn't want to have to rely on other people to be in certain places at certain times in order to get it out every single week, because the biggest thing for me was important to have this weekly. But I do think that I have got more comfortable, if you like, with talking for the hour. Whereas before I may have been slightly guarded as to what I'll say or what I discuss. Now I'm happy to go, this is what it is, and you either enjoy it or you don't. And sometimes the other pressure is when you think that, I'll say it, not all the episodes are funny, but I've never felt as if I want that's what it to be. I want it to be just more of a stream of consciousness, a conversation, a thought. Here's what's in my mind. Here's what I'm discussing about. It might relate to you. It might not relate to you. There have been some things that we've spoke about that I know people have got in touch to say they're glad that I've spoke about it and it has hit a chord with them. Other people have got in touch to argue with me, disagree on certain things, and that's great. That's what it should be. We should be in a position where we can debate and speak, and talk our minds and have something slightly different. But yeah, now the show is, we hit record, we hit play, and we just go and we see where it takes us. And I feel as if that is certainly becoming a more comfortable setup to have, rather than trying to think where to cut it here and where to cut it there, move stuff about, don't say that, don't say this. Thankfully, through things like, SoundCloud and Patreon, we have the ability to discuss anything and talk about anything we want. So that's where we're at. But thanks for that, Morris. So to answer your question, mate, it has changed. It used to be very cut and paste job at the start, and now it is just a stream of consciousness, as you so eloquently put it. Right, let's do one more question. Bobby Curry. Bobby, thanks for being an absolute Patreon legend. Same as the other gents. And thank you to everybody who is supporting the show on Patreon. Bobby's asked if you could pick any level of fame or fortune, whose would it be and why? I want Jeff Bezos' money. My God. In fact, that's something I'm going to talk about in the Patreon. I'm just going to write that down. Because I saw an article the other day about how much money these fuckers have made during quarantine. Fame is an odd thing, man. I've never, ever craved fame. I've never craved it. And because I've never had that inkling, I find it very difficult to relate to people who just want to be famous. I know a lot of them, I've spoken about it before. I've not lost friends, because none of them are really friends, but I've certainly thought differently of people when you learn of their intentions. There's a lot of guys who just want to be able to walk down Byers Road in Scotland, in Glasgow, walk down Byers Road and just be stopped 20, 30 times of their picture taken, That's troubled me, that is where they want to be, and I just don't understand it. I've never understood that. I think if you fall into that trap of wanting to be famous, you will never achieve anything that makes you happy, ever. Nothing you do in life or your career will ever make you happy, if that's what you want, because you'll never be famous enough. Never be famous enough. I'm trying to think of someone I know who I think, has got a good kind of balance, isn't he, a cunt? I think you probably want to be... I would like to be at a level where I could do, a good number of ticket sales. Obviously, you're trying hard to kind of get your name out there and kind of build it and build the following. And my audience is certainly word of mouth. That's where it comes from. I know that the vast majority of people who come and see me are being brought by someone else, and the hope is that they then return again next year and they bring someone back. The hardest thing is trying to just build that tour, build that up to a level where it's sustainable, because it's expensive to put on a tour. There are a lot of costs involved. A lot of costs come off the tickets. You've got to balance it, that you don't price yourself out of the market, if you like. So it's a balance. But I have always said since day one, if I could get to the level where I could do a 30, 40 date tour, across the UK, 500 seats, 1,000 seats. If I could ever get to that level, I would be beyond happy. That would be my ceiling, my dream goal would be that. Hopefully we can get there. It was a really disappointing start of the year with COVID, because I felt for the first time ever, I'll be honest with you, for the first time ever, I had sold out 4 shows in a row. It's never ever happened to me, especially on a tour. So the first 4 dates of this tour were sold out, and I managed to do 3 of them, and then COVID started. And it was a real kick in the balls, because it's the first time ever that I felt as if I was starting to get in that rung of being able to fill very small venues, and obviously COVID has happened, so all we can hope for is that when we're back touring again, which I hope is next year, that we get back into the groove of, you know, selling those tickets. And I'm talking now, I'm looking at doing 100 to 150 tickets per show. And again, if I can get that within the next year or two and sustain that, I'm a very, very happy boy. But the end goal, I suppose, would be to build it to we're doing maybe like, you know, bigger art centres, small theatres, 500 seaters, 1,000 seaters. And if you can get to that level where all you got to do is work hard, turn out a new show every year or every 18 months, I would be delighted. And that's that for me. And everyone's different. Like I said, you know, everyone will have, you know, you'll get the people who come through and are like, I want to be doing arena tours and I want to be selling more nights than anyone else and doing 2 months residency. And if I could have the dream career now, it would be to get to the level where I could do, you know, small theatres, good sized art centres, tour up and down the country, you know, maybe go and do some things international, but majority of the work in the UK, and just be, I think being in control of my own work is the most important thing. Not have an agency or a management telling you can't do this or you can't do that, or taking you aside and asking you not to speak about certain subjects, or saying to you, listen, if you do this and you do that and you don't swear or you clean it up, we can get you this thing and we can get you that thing. Just being able to book in a tour, write a show about whatever you want to write about, whatever you want to talk about, take it on the road and tour it and do, you know, good numbers. I'd be delighted with that, mate. Delighted with that. And hopefully that is the case. I'm feeling good about work again, and I think that when we get back to actually being on the road and touring, I think this show's going to be good. I think it's going to be old fashioned. Back to what I do best, man. Just a bit of deep storytelling, if that's the way you want to look at it. So hopefully once tickets go on sale, whenever they do go on sale, you come out, you bring some friends, you bring some family, and we keep growing the numbers. Right, Bobby, Douglas, Morris, thank you very much, Nate, for your questions, boys. I think we will wrap this episode up. Again, bit of a slow one, but hey, can't all be bangers? Nah, I mean, I hope you enjoyed the rabble anyway. Listen, if you do have questions or topics you want me to discuss, please do get in touch. Go to the website, scottgibsoncomedy.co.uk. All the links are there. You can get in touch if you've got a long form question by going to the contact page, or get me in the social medias. Look out for when I post about recordings, and then just drop me a question. If you do want to get the extra shows, every Friday a Patreon episode goes out to the Patreonis, and if you would like to join them, then please do so. You can sign up for as little as $5. It's less than the price of a pint every month. So if you enjoy the podcast and you want some extra goodies, and you think, do you know what, I'm going to support the big man during this fucking shitty time that is COVID, then sign up to the Patreon. Patreon.com/Big Scott Gibson, patreon.com/Big Scott Gibson. All the links on the website, so head over there. And yeah, do it, man. Sign up. It's some good content. There's some extra goodies on there. There's some comedy albums. And you'll be supporting the show as well for less than the price of a pint, man. Unbelievable. A month, not even a week. A month as well. It's like £1 a week. Fuck's sake. So do that. Sign up. Right. I had one more thing left to do as well, but we'll save that. We'll save that for the Patreonis. Also, I should say before we do head off that if you are on the Patreon, then you will get the video episodes of the podcast as well. So if you enjoy watching the video episodes, then you'll get them on Patreon. Or wait a fortnight till they come out on YouTube. I don't know. Sign up, right? In the words of Bob Geldof, give us your fucking money. Become a patron. $5. Jesus Christ. Right, that's us. What else can I mention? Nothing. Quiz on a Wednesday night on Facebook. Come and join us for that. Good bit of banter. And yeah, that's it. Take care of yourself. Stay safe. Wear a mask. Don't be a dick. Wash your hands and your arsehole. And I will hopefully see you on a battlefield very soon. Take care, guys. Thanks for listening. Bit of an odd episode, but hey, you know, sometimes we go down that avenue that leads us to a bit of a ranty one. So thanks for listening. Right, subscribe to the show, share it, take care. I'll speak to you next week. All the best. Onwards.